I doubt there are many of us out there that aren't familiar with Tubi by now. And let it be well known, I will always praise Tubi for their vast collection of, well, everything. We all can't afford to go to the theater all the time. And for the newbies out there, download Tubi. It is a game changer. So here are 10 films out of a plethora of content on Tubi that I believe are worth watching. Some are well known, some not so much. With that said, welcome to Kill Floor Horror. Let's get to it. Starting off with an Australian 80s gem. And there are more than you realize. I'm referring to Dead End Drive-In, 1986. This is directed by Brian Trenchard Smith. In a dystopian future Australia, Krabs and his girlfriend Carmen become trapped in a drive-in cinema that has become a concentration camp for delinquent youths and refugees. Dead End Drive-In is concentrated 80s pop culture through an odd Australian filter. And when I say that, it's definitely not an insult. I could not love this movie more. The great punk, 80s, big hair aesthetic is such a vibe. Mix that with a dystopian storyline, gorgeous color and scenes, and you get Dead End Drive-In. You really understand this film from both sides. From Krabs' perspective, which is he sees this nothing more than an open-air prison, and from the other inhabitants and his girlfriend, who they understand it's pretty much a concentration camp, but they're also relieved that they have a safe place, food, and a small community. Whereas outside the drive-in, there's lawlessness, rampant violence, and it's a day-to-day struggle just to survive. Australia nailed the dystopian film in the 80s. Look at how big the Mad Max series is, and how it was a launch pad for Mel Gibson's career. I am a huge fan of Ty West. The Innkeepers was my introduction to his films, but this one came before it, and when I first watched it, I knew he was going to make a splash in horror. This one's got no pearl, Merle. Let's talk about The House of the Devil, 2009. Directed by Ty West, starring Jocelyn Donahue, Tom Noonan, Mary Warnoff, Greta Gerwig, and Dee Wallace. Set in the 1980s, it follows a cash-strapped college student, Samantha, who takes a mysterious babysitting job at an isolated mansion during a lunar eclipse. She soon discovers her employers are part of a murderous satanic cult. The House of the Devil was sort of the launch of Ty West's career. He has earlier work, but this is definitely where he got noticed. This film has a bleak, dark, grainy, late 70s era feel. While every actor nails their role, which we all know isn't very common, but it seems like Ty West really knows how to get the best out of his stars. The eerie house is a character in this movie. It's large, dark, and foreboding. The car death reminds me a bit of Tom Savini's death in 1980's Maniac, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Rest in peace, Joe Spinell. If you like the X series, you should definitely give The House of the Devil a watch. It's a completely different style, but you won't be disappointed. I love a nice, crazy, low-budget horror that makes you say, what the fuck did I just watch? And who does it better than Charles Band and Full Moon Features? Head of the Family. The head of the family is literally that. A giant head on a tiny body who psychically controls the rest of his even more unusual family. This is directed by Charles Band and starring Blake Adams and Bob Schott. Head of the Family is a Full Moon Features film. If you're familiar, then that should probably tell you where this is headed. It's weird as fuck, hilarious, the family is crazy, and the look of Myron is just so damn cool and so well done. Charles Band is right up there with Lloyd Kaufman for me. Kings of wild underground horror and film. They both do things their own way. Hollywood be damned. And there are legions of us out there that are thankful for it. Long live Full Moon Features and Trauma. The world needs more independent studios like them. I grew up on these movies, and Head of the Family is one of my favorites. If you're gummied out and in love a ridiculous, schlocky, what the fuck kind of film, Head of the Family just might be for you. There's been an uptick, it seems, to mixing wrestling and horror. And even if you aren't a fan of wrestling, they seem to be pretty good. And this one is one of the best to bring that story into a film.
Don't kill him.
I'm not gonna kill him, I'm just gonna bash him.
Bringing the pain. Here for Blood, 2023. When his girlfriend is swamped with college exams, a pro wrestler agrees to cover her well-paying babysitting job. What starts off as an easy night quickly spirals into bloody chaos when a murderous cult comes to abduct the child. This is directed by Daniel Torres, starring Sean Roberts and Joel Farrow. When I first saw the trailer for this, I was kind of skeptical, but it didn't take me long to see that this film was going to fucking rock. Sean Roberts is likable, funny, and definitely a believable badass. The humor is on point, and the violence, gore makes this film such a blast. Daniel Torres does an amazing job directing this film, and he has editing credits on his IMDb. And it definitely shows in this film. It's so well shot, the pacing is great, and non-wrestling fans don't have anything to worry about. It's basically just used as a plot device. And it's not a major focus besides letting you in on knowing where our main character is from and showing how tough as fuck he is. This film has it all, and I totally recommend Here for Blood. John Carpenter? Lovecraft? Occult noir, you say? Who could resist that, right? This must-watch film I'm referring to is In the Mouth of Madness, 1994. An insurance investigator begins discovering that the impact a horror writer's books has on his fans is more than inspirational. Obviously, this film is directed by John Carpenter. It has a huge list of stars: Sam Neill, Charlton Heston, David Warner, and even Wilhelm von Homburg, also known as Vigo the Carpathian. In the Mouth of Madness is one in a long list of masterpieces by John Carpenter. It has a gritty, almost noir feel to it, while keeping you on the edge of your seat with this intense, psychological, Lovecraftian horror. If you have ever seen the merch that says, "Do you read Sutter Kane?" this is what that is from. I've always had a hunch that this was sort of a nod to Stephen King with the look and the popularity of the horror novels featured in the movie. It may not be so subtle, and my hunch may just be common knowledge, but hey. Danger seems to seep out of this film. No scene ever feels safe, and that is such a hard feat to pull off, and that's what makes In the Mouth of Madness stand out. Sam Neill steals most of the scenes in this film, and that says a lot considering the massive list of amazing actors. The surreal, mind-bending story and atmosphere shows just how amazing John Carpenter is at capturing the audience. Do yourself a favor and watch In the Mouth of Madness, especially if you are new to horror, and see why he's everybody's favorite director. This next one is for my true crime fans out there. This is one that wasn't on my radar until fairly recently. I'm talking about Skinner, 1993. A man with a bag of knives hunts victims to skin them while being stalked by a limping drug addict he previously mutilated who seeks revenge. This is directed by Ivan Nagy. I could be saying that wrong. It's starring Ted Raimi, Ricky Lake, David Warshawski, and Tracy Lords. This movie seems to get a lot of mixed reviews, but for me, I think it's a solid watch. Ted Raimi gives a really impressive performance as Dennis Skinner. I mean, yeah, it's a bit on the nose with the last name Skinner, and he skins people to wear them, which is obviously a nod to the serial killer Ed Gein. But the practical effects are great, and it's got a good plot. I'm not 100% sure, but this could be Ricky Lake's only horror movie. But don't come for me if it isn't. It's just the only one I could think of. You really feel for her being in a very one-sided relationship, and the one person she seems to trust turns out to be a brutal serial killer. Tracy Lord's character, Heidi, on the other hand, seems a bit underdeveloped and she falls a bit flat. The dialogue is also lacking in this film, but I feel that there's enough to warrant a watch. Ted is absolutely the rock in this film and is very rarely giving the chance for a leading role. I would say if you are particularly a fan of 90s horror, then this is one you should probably check the box on. Oh, the 80s. Tease your hair, tuck your gut in some spandex pants, and score yourself a case of tall boys for this next film. A favorite since my childhood. Let's get into it. Shopping Mall, 1986. A group of young shopping mall employees stays behind for a late night party in one of the stores. When the mall goes on lockdown before they can get out, the robot security system malfunctions and goes on a killing spree. This is directed by Jim Wynorski, starring Kelly Maroney, Barbara Crampton, Tony O'Dell, Russell Todd, Dick Miller, Garrett Graham, Paul Bartel, and Mary Warnoff. Shopping Mall probably has one of the most iconic movie posters of all time. And it basically has zero to do with the movie. But who the fuck cares? We got malls. We got killer robots. We got everyone partying, having sex, throwing some fun kills, and closed store ransacking. And you have a film that is universally adored. It has all that nostalgic 80s goodness that you're looking for. Great casting, awesome scenes, and the robots have such a cool look. The original film was called Killbots, and that would have made sense. But I think they probably thought that was too on the nose, and who can argue with Chopping Mall? Is it a perfect film? Absolutely not. Honestly, I don't need that or want that all the time. But I do want fun, and this movie is jam-packed with that. See this film. I cannot recommend it enough. So if I just say Matthew Lillard is in this next film, does that make it an automatic ad for your watch list? Of course it does. Get ready for a fun early 2000s blast of nostalgia with 13 Ghosts, 2001. When Cyrus Kritikos, a very rich collector of unique things, dies, he leaves his house, fortune, and his prized collection of ghosts. It's directed by Steve Beck, starring Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, Rod Digga, F. Murray Abraham, and Embeth Davids. This is one of the early 2000 Dark Castle remakes. The original 13 Ghosts was released in 1960 and was produced and directed by William Castle, who was known for his in-theater gimmicks to draw crowds like skeletons flying, seat buzzing, smells. Hence, Dark Castle remakes. I have really loved seeing this film be more and more embraced over the years. It seemed like it had fans, but largely was kind of shit on when it came out. It didn't help that it was a disappointment at the box office. But this version of 13 Ghosts is fun. The practical effects are wonderful. The ghosts are amazing and have such great design. The story is a bit shallow, but there's enough there to keep it fun. F. Murray Abraham is a great villain. Tony Shalhoub is Tony Shalhoubing. Although I wouldn't have been mad if he'd have played this a little bit more like Antonio from Wings. Matthew Lillard is great as usual. Rod Digga does a good job as the nanny. They give her some funny lines throughout the film. If you have not watched this yet, then welcome to your new comfort movie. 13 Ghosts is pure fun and is so early 2000s. I love a good witch story. Always have, always will. This next movie is quirky and well shot, and Aunt Gladys' comfort film. I'm talking about They're Watching, 2016. The renovation of an old house in a village somewhere in Eastern Europe will bring the crew of an American home improvement TV show against superstitions, misunderstandings, and bloody violence. This is written and directed by Micah Wright and Jay Linder, starring Mia Marcon, Chris Lemke, and David Alpay. Their watching is shot in a style of like a mockumentary, found footage. It begins like an episode of HGTV's International House Hunters set in Moldova. The characters are very likable and relatable, and that's mainly because of how smart and witty the writing is. It never takes itself too serious. This film may unfold a bit slow for some people, but I never found it boring or just dragging along. The tension between townspeople and crew builds until it absolutely goes off the rails in such a fun way. The ending of this movie has fun gore and not the best CGI, but I believe that was on purpose. It feels like it's trying to go from the serious story to telling a humorous, dark Romanian fairy tale. Their watching may not be for everyone, but I think if you go into it as a fan of found footage and just taking it as a fun ride, that you're really going to enjoy this film. If you're a fan of Lovecraftian horror, and I think most of us are, at least when it's done well, and this one could arguably be one of, if not the best. There's one name for Lovecraftian horror that stands out above all the rest. That name is Stuart Gordon, and I'm referring to his iconic film, From Beyond, 1986. A group of scientists have developed the Resonator, a machine which allows whoever is within range to see beyond normal, perceptible reality. But when the experiment succeeds, they are immediately attacked by terrible life forms. This is starring Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Ted Sorrell, and Ken Faree. Stuart Gordon is a master of Lovecraftian horror, with such films as Reanimator, Dagon, The Pit and the Pendulum, and Castle Freak. Gordon truly cemented himself as a master of intelligent horror. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2020. But he left such a legacy through his films, and From Beyond is arguably the best. This story is wild, graphic, but still somehow seems believable. The colors and practical effects make From Beyond beautiful and grotesque at the same time. We have the usual cast for a Stuart Gordon film, along with horror veteran Ken Faree, who adds even more to this film. This is a masterclass in cosmic horror, and if you haven't watched any of his films, you are truly missing out. Especially if you like films like Color Out of Space and Annihilation. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Please let me know in the comments some of your favorite Tubi films, because I know this list could be massive with how much they have on there. Like and subscribe. Please help me grow this channel. And remember, until next time, the kill floor is always running.